Now, young single people in Ghana are more likely to be involved in motor accidents. This is according to medical officer and researcher with the Accident and Emergency Unit at the Kojo Teaching Hospital, Dr. Abigail Mana. She says data shows individuals within the youthful age bracket tend to drive recklessly. She was speaking at a town hall meeting dubbed Operation Stay Alive, where she advised commercial drivers and motorists to drive safely. Lois Stay has more in the following report.
Dr. Abigail Mana, who works as a medical officer at the accidents unit of the Kojo Teaching Hospital, says more than 70% of victims involved in accidents and brought to her unit were young and single. She also observed that many of them were drivers and motorists who drove recklessly. She spoke at a town hall meeting with commercial motor riders.
From 18 to 35 found the majority of the cases, which form like 75% of the cases. And the singles also find out most of our majority of cases that I saw. Okay, so most men may not marry early and they might be involved. And you know, when you are single, you just want to live life, you want to be happy and all that. So they live, I'm not saying recklessly, but some of them do the reckless driving around. So I think that's what is causing them having a higher incident rate of the accident they are having.
Dr. Mana said many of the victims didn't know much about road signs and traffic regulations. She advised them to wear helmets always to minimize the impact of accidents.
And my major findings were those who came in with helmets has a tendency of reducing head injury and fatal accidents. I had only 7% who had idea of our road regulations. Some cannot even identify any of the road signs. So my advice to our motor riders is we want them alive. We want them to stay alive. So we want them to please use their helmets, which will help us to reduce the head injury cases, and we want them to obey the rules and road regulations.
Speaking on the side of the event, National Chairman of the Okada Riders Association, Mohammed Tinjani, implored the government to legalize commercial motor riding in the country as it is a source of income for many young men. He also pleaded with restaurant owners to hire trained and licensed motorists as dispatch riders.
We are pleading to them to listen to us, to legalize the Okada for us, because now everywhere I choke. Only this job have the population in Ghana now. But by all means, if they legalize the Okada for us, we follow the law and regulation. And we are pleading to the people who, especially restaurants, we are pleading to them, if they want to take a dispatch rider, they should go to the correct channel and follow the correct way. They should come direct to us. We will show them and we will give them the correct people who could feel right.
It is expected that this sensitization will be effective in curbing the high occurrence of motor accidents, especially during this festive season. Lois Tays reports, read to you.
Let's stay a little longer on this story and speak to the National Road Safety Authority. The Director of Planning and Programs at the National Road Safety Authority, Engineer David Adonting, joins us live with more. Now, does this observation reflect in the data you collect on the ground as well?
And thank you very much for this opportunity. Yes, indeed, yesterday we organized a town hall meeting for motor riders, and we had a couple of unions and associations joining us, so we could share ideas on the relevance of adhering to safety rules and regulations and standards. I think the discussion was very fruitful, and what it meant is what we are raising now, because we had a whole representative from the teaching hospital, Kojo Injury Department, revealing some research findings that included a number of issues that otherwise had not been even been focused on for a number of years now. For example, talking about the age level, the age bracket, riding motorcycles and having...
We'll come to that, but I'm just trying to find out from you whether what she put out correspond to what you do have in terms of the data you collect as well.
Our data has all these revelations are well entrenched in our data. A couple of times we have come out in the public space to raise these matters, and so we were not surprised that because everything we put out there in our kind of communication on those city matters are data-led. And we get a data from the Building and Road Research Institute, we get a data from the police, and then from the hospital. So indeed, it is a clear reflection of what we see on the ground.
Okay, let's now talk about the factors that are leading to what we are observing, what you're also alluding to now. What have you found?
Indeed, in their revelation, just as we also have, we see that riding motorcycles in Ghana is a risky venture. Risky because the riders and the African riders are not protected in a manner that can save them when they fall victim to road traffic crash. Again, it also talk about in terms of wearing of helmets. Most of the injuries they record there appear to be head injuries and then broken limbs, which clearly shows that most of them are not wearing the helmet and they are not also wearing the gears in terms of the protective gears. They also spoke about some of them drinking, taking drugs, and riding. And other groups also kind of not respecting the rules and regulations in the road space, especially at intersections. And talking about the age level, the bracket where you find the youth mainly between 18 and 24, 25, mostly getting involved in these crashes. And they attribute it to the fact that they are young, they are not responsible. Most of them are not even married. And so the research recommendation has direct to the fact that if you are young, youthful, exuberant, your will and behavior, you are not responsible for any child, and so you do things in your own way, the way you see life and the way you enjoy life. I think that these are very clear revelations, and a couple of years when we started discussing this Okada menace, all these issues came up. So it came as a confirmation of what we already have. And I think it's very good for all of us.
So once we know the factor that are contributing to this, the rise in what we're seeing, what is the National Road Safety Authority doing to reduce their numbers this Yuletide?
I think that much as we want to step up our education, I'm sure it goes beyond education. It's a matter of now having a targeted education. The revelations are there, clearly defining that there's a particular age bracket that must be focused on. And so we will redirect our education not to the entire motorcycle riding, but we will try to focus more on this age bracket and also further see how the police can stamp down their authority on this group of people. We will not say that we will encourage them to go and be responsible by marriage. I think that there was one particular discussion where we see that those who are married must be responsible, and perhaps they are the ones that should be allowed to ride motorbike. I don't think, but that's a social discussion.
Okay.
But technically, we are going to make sure that they are licensed, they have gone through training, they have been given proper conscientization as to how to ride motorbike safely within our road space, and we will continue to engage them periodically through sensitization, and then let the police also do their work in terms of enforcement. I think these are the key things we'll be doing from now.
I'm grateful. David Adonting is the Director of Planning and Programs at the National Road Safety Authority.
Thank you very much.
Now moving on to other stories. Chiefs in the Ashanti region who have had their lands invaded by illegal miners will be summoned by the Asantehene for questioning and possible sanctions. Otunfo Osetutu II says chiefs should not sit aloof while illegal mining activities ravage arable farmland and water bodies. He says the inactions of some chiefs to reject illicit concessions have contributed to the unending fight against galamsey.
And they are Sabre, yes, a COP 27, Nipe to Quaco Egypt, no coca, and some sound about the near, you know. Sabre near Suyani say and Sassini Union.
The Asantehene's comments follow an appeal by chiefs in the Ashanti region to be granted summoning powers to help in the fight against galamsey. Illegal mining continues to wreak havoc in many parts of the Ashanti region, predominantly in areas along the Ofen River. water bodies and agricultural plantations have been damaged as a result of the illegal mining menace. Speaking at a general meeting of the Ashanti Regional House of Chiefs, Otumfuo Setutu II noted chiefs who allow their communities to be invaded by Galamsey are complicit in the act.
So we are about educate also as a contract. Now manekwa mo no kwose wunsuo kwose asase no a. Then you win movie. Na anya ne eto na ekotugo tekunda ma ya bro sika kakra na Chinese for ne ba mo mahimfie ne de nsa na yi brem na mo gidia. Na uji se o man na wo nko awo yam na aye na o man no e. O man no udi so no e. No credit mo me nka na free. Yeah, my boy here lawyer must say accomplice of the fact.
The Asantehene disagreed with assertions that traditional councils lack the power to reject mining activities on their lands.
And so I said, and you watch your friend so to for that. I mean, an animal, dear Jammy, what another dear assassin Jow. No be about how I was saying, you know, I didn't like I. Bet you fear the Sabro, the Scarbro. Takunda, ma, we are the brute, one sense, you know. One say assassin. There's idea about one day, one more boy chrono, you didn't send through there. Yes, we are near the Maba who says you are near British, your truck rat animal will be by assassin, young primoma. That's our body tube about the queen, queen, you. And my boy may come, catch a union. No cranny next year was here who or he be a gallant say when I was here, friend Bubus, a dating or two, I'm an abano here. Yabaninya mania or Quaco.
The paramount chief of Asante Mampom, Dasibre Osebonsu II, questioned the use of military personnel to provide unauthorized protection to illegal mining sites in some forest reserves. For JoyNews, Emmanuel Kweku reporting.
Related, the UN Special Rapporteur on Toxics and Human Rights urges government to ban trade and use of mercury, hazardous pesticides, and all other toxic chemicals that harm individuals and the environment. The UN Special Rapporteur on Toxic and Human Rights says government must ban trade and use of mercury, hazardous pesticides, and all other toxic chemicals that harm individuals and the environment. Marcos Orellana says exposure to such toxic waste is a violation of human rights. Mr. Orellana, who was addressing the press at the end of his 14-day assessment of the country, observed that Ghana has strong policies on environmental protection. He was, however, unhappy about the weak implementation at the national level, saying this put individuals at a risk of human rights violations.
While Ghana's environmental laws are strong, there is weak implementation. Also, there are certain gaps in Ghana's normative framework regarding industrial chemicals, as well as a lack of comprehensive national policy to manage the entire life cycle of chemicals, including waste. In this regard, I would like to highlight the adoption of a national plastic waste management policy. Positive strategic actions include the establishment of collection, recovery, recycling, and remanufacturing targets and initiatives to fostering innovative resource mobilization towards a circular economy. On the same beach, many people live in informal settlements where they breed and slaughter cattle and fish for subsistence and livelihood. Like in Abobloshi, their human rights to water and sanitation, health, housing, food, and to a healthy environment are being infringed. In regard to the deleterious impacts of mercury on human health and the environment, the government should adopt strong measures of control. it should ban the use of and trade in mercury, champion amendments to strengthen the Minamata Convention on Mercury, and address mercury use as a form of environmental crime.
Now let's speak to a former operations director of the Ghana Small Scale Miners Association of Ghana, Emmanuel Yerenchi, on this. Thanks so much for joining us, sir. Now, why are we still using mercury many years after the Minamata Convention?
Thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers, and especially small scale miners across the country. Yes, thank you. Yes, with regards to the mineral laws in Ghana, miners are permitted to use mercury. But one interesting aspect of that is, or a very important point to note, is the fact that the amount or how the mercury is used is not the whole ore amalgamation as practiced in elsewhere, the South Americas and all of that. So Ghana's use, miners' use of mercury is in very small quantities. However, not long ago, somewhere around 2016, Ghana signed up to the Minamata Convention, and follow up to that, we did our Minamata initial assessment report, which was in record time, and then followed that up, we did our national action plan. Basically, what the Minamata Convention enjoins us to do is, first of all, to identify sources of mercury in the country, and then reduce it to the barest minimum, and if possible, eliminate it. So for me, it is a very good step that the nation has taken towards the reduction of the use of mercury, and then perhaps to the total elimination of it. Now, when you come to, there are several industries that uses mercury in the country. Hospitals, some areas where mercury are emanated from their natural system, like the cemeteries and the refuse dam that we burn stuff from there and all of that. Now, and then sometimes some of the creams that our women use has got some level of mercury or traces of mercury in them as well. But from the reports and the initial assessment that we did, we realized that a certain amount, a larger percentage of the mercury usage falls under the artisanal and small scale mining sector. And so as part of the NAB, there were several things that we discussed with all stakeholders.
But Mr. Yerenchi, we are being told that, you know, even though you say that ours is on the low, we are also being told it's still a high. So what can we do to ensure that we really achieve the target of minimizing the usage of mercury in our mining? But it's been a concern for some time now.
Yes, of course. So as I was saying, the NAB, the National Action Plan that was drawn, of which I was part of the technical committee, proposed to government, and government has actually adopted it, to introduce mercury-free equipment to the small-scale sector. And if you remember, a few months ago, the government launched some 100 mercury-free equipment at the Independence Square, if you remember. It's all part of the National Action Plan to support small-scale miners to reduce the use of mercury. And the small-scale miners themselves, including myself, have also purchased some of those equipment, especially those who didn't receive the 100 pieces of equipment. Some of them have also purchased this equipment towards the reduction or perhaps the total elimination of use of mercury in our mining processes. So in Ghana, the discussion is strong, the actions have been taken, and I'm very sure that in some few years to come, in the NAB, our target was around 2030, between 2025 and then 2030. I'm confident that we might have reduced or perhaps eliminate the use of mercury in the small scale sector. With respect to the hospitals, I'm also aware that they are changing all the mercury thermometers and other equipment, medical equipment that uses mercury. I'm aware that there are laws that are banning creams that our women use that has traces of mercury in them.
Okay.
And then I'm also aware that the fluorescent tube, the one that has mercury in them, are also being banned from entering the country. So these are some of the efforts by the government.
Okay.
And
how well will you agree to the call for the sale and use of mercury to be banned in Ghana as it is being called by the UN envoy?
Well, so basically, the law, I believe, was enacted to serve a certain purpose. And with time, as a human society, we realized that perhaps the disadvantages outweighs the advantages of the purpose. But we should not also lose sight of the fact that it is supporting a certain industry. So perhaps it should be done gradually as it has been prescribed by the Minamata Convention, of which Ghana is actively participating. And so I'll recommend gradual reduction of the usage and then possibly total elimination.
Okay. Grateful to you, Mr. Emmanuel Yerinchi, for joining us. He is a former Director of Operations of the Ghana Small-Scale Miners Association. Now, to other stories, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly says it's adopting innovative ways of dealing with the tons of waste generated in the metropolis on a daily basis. The Greater Accra region alone produces over 2,000 tons of solid waste, sparking environmental concerns. Speaking at the launch of the Street Sweepers Initiative to tackle waste management challenges in the city, Mayor of Accra, Elizabeth Saki, indicated the initiative will help resolve some of the sanitation challenges. There's more in this report. Welcome back from the break. Now let's return to our earlier story where the Accra Metropolitan Assembly says it's adopting innovative ways of dealing with the tons of waste generated in the metropolis on a daily basis. The Greater Accra region alone produces over 2,000 tons of solid waste, sparking environmental concerns. Speaking at the launch of the Street Sweepers Initiative to tackle waste management challenges in the city, Mayor of Accra, Elizabeth Saki, indicated the initiative will help resolve some of the sanitation challenges. There is more in this report. The Street Sweepers Initiative is an intervention by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. The initiative, which was launched by the Mayor of Accra, Elizabeth Saki, will focus on 4 major streets in Accra.
Street Sweepers is a special street sanitation program which will focus on 4 major ceremonial streets, namely John Evans Atta Mills High Street, Asafo-Achenete Road, Kimbo Gardens through Otagon to Kimbo Gardens, and Circle to Carnation First Light. In all, a total of 200 sweepers will be deployed to the exercise in 2 working shifts.
Elizabeth Saki stated that a sanitation court has been put in place to ensure that the initiative yields results.
We have now put in place a court, that's a sanitation court, just over here. And before then, we have been able also to get hold of some who were recalcitrant, and we have been able to put on them some fines, heavy fines. And so that alone should scare the public and know exactly what we are doing. And we pray that this has come to stay.
The Director for Waste Management, Solomon Noy, mentioned that the strategy deployed in the implementation of the initiative will not negatively impact the informal sector.
This time around, in line with the President's vision as well as Operation Clean Your Frontage, we are making sure that we are deploying a strategy that will not impact negatively on our very informal sector players when it comes to traders, hawkers, and the like. At the same time, a program that will not impact negatively on the environment when it comes to the aesthetics. And hence, as the program unfolds and the coming days ahead,
BetPar, a sport betting company. Resident of Vision community at Dakope, close to Dambai in the OT region on Wednesday, chased the police rescue team for trafficked children out of their community amidst the burning of tires and threat of burning the personnel alive. The policemen, numbering 17, had gone to the community along the bank of Lake Volta to rescue 21 children who were being used for dangerous fishing activities on the lake. As police arrived at the dead of the night, 1:30 a.m. for the rescue, the residents were mobilized, ready to attack. Maxwell Agbaba was embedded with the team and now report.
So it's been about 6 hours journey from Accra to the OT region, and another close to 2 hours journey where we are meeting up with the men who will be working and helping with the rescue operation. About 20 children are going to be rescued, and I'm informed that 30 suspects will also be arrested. What you can see in the background right now is the briefing that is taking place. And I'm told that we're going to do another journey for about 2 hours. It's about 10:30 p.m. and we are hoping to get there by 12 a.m. in the dead of the night when the children and their boat masters, suspects, are sleeping. It's going to be a long night, but let's do this.
6, 7, 8, 9.
After months of painstaking investigations, the police, in collaboration with investigators, identified 20 children between the ages of 10 to 15 who are being used for hazardous fishing activities on Lake Volta. Their duties are, but not limited to, scooping water from the boats and diving into Lake Volta to untangle nets. 13 boat owners were also identified as the ones using the children for dangerous fishing activities. So time check, it's 12:35 a.m. We are on our way to Dakope, where the children will be rescued. It's a very bumpy, undulating and very rough road. It has been like this for the past 1 hour. We are going in the dead of the night, at the dead of the night, because this is the time that the suspects and the children who are going to be rescued are likely sleeping, because they'll be waking up at dawn to go fishing, and this is the good time to swoop in, on them. So that's what we're doing. We're in a convoy of a vehicle of about 5 vehicles. Together with personnel from the Ghana Police Service. We also have some social workers who are going to help in the processing of these children. Yeah. Many of the fishing communities along the banks of Lake Volta, where these children are usually trafficked to, are tucked away from the urban centers and away from the eyes of even law enforcement officers. The nearest police station to Dakope, where we visited, is the Dambai police station. It is a 2.5 hours journey with 2 hours of untarred road. So we are now here in the Dakope community where the rescue operation will be taking place. It's 1:30 a.m. and we are now in the Dakope community. Topless, muscular men, some of them in only boxer shorts, were standing outside waiting for the rescue team. It was as though a gong had been beaten for the community people to mobilize. The residents vowed they will not allow police officers to do their work. At this point, we were stopped from filming anything in the community. Some of the young men brought out car ties threatening to burn alive police personnel. As their anger continued to rise and negotiation failed, it was time to retreat as we jumped into our cars and fled. But there were more obstacles on the way as some of the residents started burning ties in the middle of a narrow road. They pelted our cars with big stones, forcing me and another journalist to duck for cover. Please.
We arrived in this community around 1:30 a.m. and already the community people have mobilized, ready to pounce on the police personnel here. And this is one of the major factors militating against the fight against child trafficking. You can see all of them have ganged up in this fishing community, not allowing police personnel, to do their work.
So very chilling account of what really happened there. Maxwell himself is with us live from Adakofe with more. Maxwell, tell us more about this community and what they do.
Well, Brace, it is a fishing community, very, very, very far away from, the urban center, very, very, very far away from good roads. So the road that you saw in the video, we traveled on that road for 2 hours. And just as you travel, you come across a small village. All of them, some of them not connected to the national grid. So what it means is that this is a very dark, narrow stretch where even two cars cannot pass. So it's far away from the urban center, where we were lodging. So really, we were told that what happens is that some of the fishermen in that community usually go for children from other communities, sometimes from Palm and other communities, and then take them far away there and use them, for fishing. So the children basically serve as a sort of cheap labor for some of these fishermen, and they are made to engage in very dangerous, activities.
Now you told us earlier that there were 21 children involved in this rescue mission. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now what happens?
Well, Brave, the 21 children you're talking about, they couldn't be rescued because the community of the residents were very, very hostile, to police and then to all the people who were there, who were part of the rescue. Even personnel from the Department of Social Welfare were not spared. Personally, I had to go down many times in the car in which we were traveling because we were throwing very, very big stones, at our car. It was a very difficult situation, and we had no choice but to flee the community.
What happens to the rescue mission then?
Well, as it stands now, I know there are talks going on right now with the opinion leaders, so that the suspects, I'm talking about the boat owners and the children, to compel the suspects to actually produce the children. Because the rescue operation couldn't happen, I am told, reliably informed that there are conversations going on with the leaders of the community for the children who are being used for dangerous fishing activities to be produced by the boat owners. So we wait to see how that goes and wait to see whether the suspects will be willing on their own produce the children and speak them to police for them to be given to the Department of Social Welfare.
Okay, grateful, Maxwell. Now, Leo Akun is an anti-human trafficking advocate as well as a co-facilitator of this mission, and he also joins us with more. Grateful that you could join us, sir. Many thanks for your time. Has this always been the scenario in your rescue missions?
Yeah, so many a time when the police is embarking on these efforts to get children out of exploitation, they get, confrontations from the community members. So it's very common in many situations.
What do you think went wrong in the operation that went on yesterday, or that was to happen yesterday?
Well, I wasn't part of the operation, but from experience working in this space, I suspect that the community became very much aware that the police were there and arresting the boatmasters and rescuing the children. And as you already know, Ghana, we are very communal, which is a good thing. But when we use our community to actually exploit people, then it becomes very problematic. And so people became very much aware about the problem, about the police presence in the community. And so naturally they got agitated and started attacking the police personnel. And I would say that in the past, we've experienced this on several occasions.
Now, given yesterday's attack, what happens to such a rescue mission and the children expected to be rescued?
So the police would have to reconvene and re-strategize on how to go forward, and that would involve talking to the opinion leaders, and the opinion leaders would have to really release those who are the perpetrators for them to be held accountable and for the children to also be rescued, because in the past there have been situations where the children will be taken away from the community and the perpetrators will also go into hiding. But the opinion leaders would have to be the ones, calling the shots in terms of having the children to be released and the perpetrators also arrested. If that doesn't happen, the opinion leaders themselves, the police must take the opinion leaders into custody and get them to release or give information as to wherever these suspects are or where these children are for the children to be rescued.
I'm grateful you are. He is an anti-human trafficking advocate. Now, will Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Peter Otukono, be able to fend off competition from his seniors like Fifi Kwete and Elvis Afriankra and take over from his boss and mentor, Asiedu Nketia? With barely 72 hours to the opposition NDC's national executive elections, Raymond Akwa in this report puts the spotlight on Deputy General Secretary Peter Otukono as he strives to be elected substantive General Secretary.
Cannot overemphasize the role of the young people. And most importantly, let me emphasize that the wisdom of Solomon has nothing to do with the age of Methuselah.
Dr. Peter Otukono dismissing one of the major claims against him. According to him, what he lacks in age, he has been more than willing to make up for in experience.
Yes, I've dedicated myself to the service of our great party, the National Democratic Congress. During this period, I've served in various capacities, both in government and as a party official. I've served as the head of research at the Communications Directorate of the Office of the President, as a Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the National Youth Authority, and as a member of the National Elections Directorate of the NDC, as a Deputy Director of Research, and the founding registrar of the NDC Party School, the Ghana Institute of Social Democracy. By the good grace of God and by your support, you elevated me to the high office of the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC.
But is this enough to guarantee him a win over former ministers and party stalwarts like Fifi Kwete and Elvis Afriankra? Peter Otukono believes his trump card is that he learned from the best.
I have submitted myself to you in all humility. I've learned from the best in the party. This humbling period of service and learning to the masses of our party has shaped me into a leader that does not only share in your dreams and aspirations for this.
And trust JoyNews, we will be at the Accra Sports Stadium to bring you a comprehensive coverage of that particular congress. So stay with us for details of that. But for now, we'll take a quick break and bring you business. Stay with us.
Welcome to business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Some stakeholders within the agricultural space are calling on government to develop innovative models to support the operations and aid in the fight against food insecurity. According to agric entrepreneur Issa Wadrago, government must work closely with players within the sector to expand the scope of small businesses. He spoke to Joy Business at a visit to some farms as part of the Farmers' Day celebration.
The agriculture stakeholders stated that a new social model of farming would aid in productivity. Speaking to Joy Business, Wadrago Issa called government to work closely with farmers to help in the fight against food insecurity.
Introduce it to the public, to the kids, to know that there is a place to showcase what the future of agriculture all looks like. I mean, we've all seen the dams, we've seen the agroforestry, we've seen the ecological garden, and you saw how happy the kids are. To me, I'm so happy because I want these kids to see the future of agriculture and its importance to this nation for our economic growth. And I think that mission has been well achieved. And you can see the way it is now is not the Garden of Eden in the Bible, but it tells you that, we're almost close to, as far as we are concerned here, the way kids are enjoying a variety of fruits, medicinal plants, no fertilizer, no insecticide, no pesticide, and it's growing naturally. But we need more of this. When you think of climate change, we think of biodiversity, we think of ecological garden. We can call it also a place of relaxation.
These farmers are calling on governments to find solutions to climate change-related problems that affect their operations.
Now, as part of its corporate social responsibility, So Ghana, through the Sahara Foundation, has donated solar panels to the 37 military hospital. According to Managing Director of So Energy, Yvette Salome, the company will, in the coming days, extend its support to other corporate institutions.
As part of the Sahara Group, it's something that we do on a yearly basis. We've done boreholes, we've renovated secondary schools, and so many more. So this year, we identified 37 military hospital as one of the places where we wanted to extend our support. We did our visibility study, and we realized that the maternity ward, the quartermasters, was very dark. And as a mother and as a woman coming to have a child and these areas being dark and all that, we realized that this was one of the important things that we needed to address. So we contributed the solar panels to these areas to light up the hospital and to light up the areas. So that is why we are here today. And then going forward, are we going to embark on more projects like that? Definitely, because we always want to give back to the society. So we would further identify areas that need our support and our help, and then do that.
And that's business. Sports is coming up next. Well, let's do some sports now, and Lawrence is already here. Well, Lawrence, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, Richard. How are you too?
I'm fine. It wasn't entirely a good day yesterday. I'm saying it wasn't entirely because we know France is made up of Africa United.
Yeah.
So even though Morocco lost, we'll still have,
I think
Africa represented.
Morocco still have themselves to be proud of, because they put out such a good performance this whole tournament to top their group, to beat Spain and then Portugal on their way to reaching the semi-finals. It's been quite a fairy tale, and then they should be proud of what they have done in this competition. However, we look forward to the repeat of the 2018. It was 2018 when they met in the quarterfinals.
Also, France and Argentina met in the
quarterfinals. Oh, and then France beat Argentina by 4-2.
Whoa.
So it's looking more like a revenge. They
don't have Pogba, they don't have this guy.
That's what makes the France squad quite an interesting one, because going into a tournament where you are missing your two midfield powerhouses in N'Golo Kante and then Paul Pogba, people were predicting that France will be on the verge of probably exiting somewhere in the quarterfinals at most. However, they've gone all the way and then they've made it to the final. I think one player who stood out throughout this competition, their midfield, has been Chouameni for me.
Okay.
In the middle of the pack has been Chouameni, because you look at a young boy who moved to Real Madrid, who at the start of the season was a bit struggling and then find himself comfortable, gets into the France team with the tags with the responsibility of replacing Paul Pogba, and then he comes in as if he's played there before. It's just been wonderful for Didier Deschamps, and then he looks forward to getting his hands on yet another FIFA World Cup trophy. So
if they win, will they be the first to?
No.
They won't.
Brazil have done back to back. So probably France are looking to do it for the first time in quite a long while.
Okay. For the first time. Okay.
In quite a long yeah. So there's one thing that, if you're an Argentina fan, you are looking at the fact that the side you used to play France in 2018 has undergone a lot of changes, because you look at it from the goalkeeping to the back line to the middle of the park. Probably you take out Messi, you take out Di Maria. These two were the ones who were in the starting lineup back then. Probably Tagliafico as well, but then these days it's not the starter.
Latrell wasn't there?
He wasn't around.
Okay.
So Tagliafico, Lionel Messi, Di Maria, these were the starters in 2018. But this time around, Tagliafico is not even a starter. You have Marcos Acuna, who's been brilliant this tournament, except for the semi-final where he had to miss it. So it's quite good, an interesting one that will be up on Sunday. In the third and fourth place, you see Croatia also play Morocco. At least there's time for Morocco to play for pride. They've done themselves some good, but then
when they saw on social media before coming on there that Benzema is training and will likely be available for selection.
You know, Benzema wasn't replaced when he suffered that injury. So it's always up to Didier Deschamps to say, I need this boy at this point. If Real Madrid allows it, he gets back into the French team. So there's no conclusion whether he will come in or not. Yesterday he was asked a question like that and he was like, can you move to the next question? He's not ready to talk about it at this moment. But if he needs him, Benzema will become available for France in the final. Don't forget that should France win the World Cup, Benzema and then Christopher Nkunku stand a chance of winning a medal, because when they got injured, Didier Deschamps chose not to replace them.
What time will the game be played on Sunday?
7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Yep.
All right. So we look forward to that particular clash. Who is your bet on? Let's see what happens on Sunday. But that's how we wrap up the sports and how we wrap up the bulletin as well. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. Have a good morning and enjoy the rest of our programs. My name is Samuel Kojo.